Hi, I'm Iris Chen, Brantford College, class of 1997, and this is my impact story. I'm the daughter of first-generation immigrants from Taiwan. My mother and father moved to the United States for graduate school, and I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. We moved around a lot, mostly up and down the East Coast, and in fact, I spent a few of my toddler years in New Haven, where my father was doing postdoctorate work at Yale. Because of my upbringing, getting a good education was very important in my family, but I was still figuring out what I wanted to do, so it was important that I went to a school that excelled in many different disciplines. But it wasn't just about the academics for me. When I visited Yale, I just felt in my gut that I belonged there. I met people who looked like me, came from similar backgrounds, and had shared experiences. In fact, I actually applied early action to another competing school, and even though I got in, when I visited, I felt like a bit of an outsider already. And that need for a feeling of belonging is what eventually led me to choose Yale. While being an alumni of the college has certainly opened a lot of professional doors for me, one of the most important lessons it taught me, whether I realized it or not at the time, was how being part of a diverse community could really enrich my life. If I were to think about my closest friends at Yale, I can honestly say it was one of the most diverse groups I'd been a part of, across race, ethnicity, socioeconomic, and geographic backgrounds. None of us were from the same place, and each of us had different lifestyles growing up. In fact, one of my closest friends was from Mississippi, a part of the country I knew very little about and never thought I'd visit. And yet I did when we took a road trip from New Haven to visit her hometown the summer after sophomore year. And I'll tell you, I learned more about the Civil War and Southern culture from that trip than I did from being in any classroom. The positive experience being part of a diverse community at Yale continues to influence how I build and lead teams. Today in my work as Deputy General Counsel at Airbnb, and prior to that, a VP in the legal department at Google. While at Google, in addition to making sure we had a diverse hiring pipeline, I also implemented a program on my team to help non-traditional candidates who took time away from their career for family or other personal reasons and wanted to re-enter the workforce, knowing that most of these candidates were likely to be women. The program gave the individual a year to rotate through different teams, covering for team members who might be on leave or plugging in resource gaps. And at the end of the year, the experience would hopefully give them a better chance to land a permanent position on the team. But I believe advancing the DEI needle doesn't come just from launching new initiatives. It can also come from the culmination of many small shifts in behavior and practice. For example, having a diverse panel of speakers when you're setting up a department-wide meeting, or reminding people managers to be aware of unconscious bias at the start of a performance review discussion. So I try to be intentional about modeling these behaviors for my team, and I expect the same from them. And that same approach is something I brought to my current role at Airbnb. But as a lawyer, I am in a profession that has its challenges when it comes to diversity and belonging. So in some ways, simply putting myself out there and owning my identity as a female minority leader has been a way to encourage and show others they can belong and succeed. I make it a point to participate in conferences and events on how to bring more diversity and inclusion to legal teams and use it as a way to share my experiences and bring an authentic voice to the conversation. I also spend time providing formal mentoring and coaching as part of the Minority Corporate Counsel Association's Equity Track program, which is trying to increase the number of equity partners from underrepresented minorities at some of the nation's top law firms by helping them with honing their business development skills. The time and energy that I spend mentoring law students, junior and even senior attorneys, whether informally or formally, is my own way of having impact, and hopefully helps more underrepresented minorities and women advance in their careers so they too can become successful role models for others in the legal profession.